So here we go again. The government is coming for e-cigarettes. That's lovely. Big Tobacco stands to benefit from an FDA crackdown on e-cigarettes, analyst says. A Food and Drug Administration crackdown on e-cigarettes could be a big boost for Big Tobacco. Piper Jaffray's Michael Lavery says, any move to slow or stop the migration of smokers to vaping products would benefit Big Tobacco, Lavery says, plus tobacco companies' investments in vaping haven't yet reached profitability. The FDA on Wednesday ordered 5 brands, Juul, British American Tobacco's Vuse, Altria's Mark 10, Imperial Brands Blue, E-Cigs, and Japan's Tobacco Logic, to submit plans within 60 days to discourage teen use of their products. It is considering restricting e-cigarette manufacturers from selling flavored nicotine liquid or making the products undergo an agency review. E-cigarette use among youth has hit epidemic proportions, the FDA said in a press release that also detailed a large-scale undercover nationwide blitz to crack down on the sale of e-cigarettes to minors at both brick-and-mortar and online retailers. The coming crackdown could spell trouble for companies such as Juul. Their products, available in sweet flavors, are popular with young people who can hide the sleek devices from parents and teachers. Big Tobacco, on the other hand, could benefit in a couple of ways. There is no industry-wide data to show how many customers vaping companies steal from tobacco, but a survey of 19,000 Juul users conducted by the company and detailed in a Piper Jaffray note said that about 62% were smokers when starting to use Juul. About 2/3 of them quit after beginning to use Juul. Okay, so I have personal experience with this. And my personal experience backs up the data that you just heard at the end there. So I was a smoker. I was a smoker for years. Probably, how many years did I smoke for? Anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe. And I was a Newport Light guy. And, you know, my dad actually died of lung cancer from smoking. So even though I didn't make the decision like, oh, I'm going to stop because I just saw my dad die from smoking. But I think subconsciously I made that decision. Like, I wasn't saying, oh, I am now going to stop because of what I just saw. But I think on some level, that's about when I stopped smoking. So I think that I made that decision subconsciously. But I don't know if I would have made that decision if it wasn't for e-cigarettes, because I had a transition period where I went from smoking the Newport Lights to smoking Newport Lights, cutting down my consumption of those, and using blue e-cigarettes, the menthol flavor. And then as time went by, the Newport Lights got less and less. The e-cigarette got more and more. Then I was just using the e-cigarette. I did that for about 6 months. Then, magically, I was off everything. And I think that happened, not from a conscious decision, but I think getting off of everything was more of a result of laziness. Where I would always, okay, I got to go to the store. There was only one specific store around me that had the blue e-cigarettes. And then after a while, I just got too lazy. I stopped going and I don't have any cravings for anything anymore. Now, I feel like if I have some sort of special occasion or something, maybe once every 2 years, I'll have a blue e-cigarette, but it's nothing now. So that was my personal experience, is that the e-cigarettes helped me get off of cigarettes. Now, some people argue that the opposite happens, and so for me, it's just anecdotal. We'll only call it what it is. But people say, oh, sometimes it's the opposite. So somebody will start when they're young, when they're a teen, with e-cigarettes, and then eventually they graduate from the e-cigarettes to the cigarettes. Maybe some, I guess, maybe. But what I just read you here at the end, this polling data, I mean, that seems pretty devastating. 62% were smokers, and then they started using e-cigarettes, and then 2/3 of them quit after they started using e-cigarettes. They quit regular cigarettes after starting to use e-cigarettes. That backs up my anecdotal experience, and I feel like that's more likely to happen. Now, furthermore, e-cigarettes, so are there, I think there's a gap in studies to show the long-term effects of e-cigarettes, and how could there be a study that shows the long-term effects? They've only been around for what? 10 years maybe? So there might be a gap in the research on that. However, let's say for a second and give the harshest critics of e-cigarettes, let's give them an argument here, and that argument is they're not good for you. Okay, let's concede that just for argument's sake. Even if we concede that, there's literally no conceivable way that they're as bad for you as regular cigarettes. Not even close. Because regular cigarettes have what? Hundreds of chemicals in it, and many of them are carcinogens. And worst case scenario is you get nicotine, which is not a carcinogen, by the way. You get nicotine in the e-cigarettes and then the vapor. So even if you say, okay, the vapor's bad for you, there's no way it's as bad as the cigarette. Because we know there's so much evidence and data to show how bad the cigarettes are for you. So even if you say e-cigarettes are bad for you, is it equally bad as cigarettes? Fuck no, not even close. So to have the FDA, to have the government crack down on e-cigarettes, here we go again, man. This is the same shit like with kratom. How they went after kratom, they're still going after kratom. Kratom is a substance that a lot of people use recreationally and they like it, but other people, they use it because they need to, because they were addicted to fucking pills, and this is the only thing that helped them get off the pills, and it saved their life, basically. But now the FDA goes, I don't know about this stuff, it's bad for you. Here, look at our fudge data, which is shitty, which says that it killed people. What? When you actually dive deep on the instances where the government says kratom killed somebody, virtually everybody who died from it had a mix of like 6 to 9 different drugs in their body, but the government says we're going to pin that only on the kratom. It's on purpose. It's a witch hunt. It's on purpose. They're trying to crack down on this. Why? Well, in the case of the FDA, a lot of their funding comes from the pharmaceutical companies that they're supposed to be regulating. So it could be a similar thing here. Who else is funding the FDA? If you're making a move that helps big tobacco, but it cracks down on the e-cigarette people, well, I'm going to have to question why you do that when it's clear that the e-cigarettes, at the very least, aren't as bad as the cigarettes. So this is bullshit. And I also look at what they're arguing and what they're telling the e-cigarette companies to do. Here's what they say. You need to submit plans within 60 days to discourage teen use of the product. I've never seen some shit like that before in my life. Why should the private company have to submit a plan to discourage the use of their product among anybody? If you want teens to stop using it, motherfucker, pass a law. Get Congress to pass a law that says, hey, teens can't use it. You have to be 18 years old or older to use e-cigarettes. You want to pass that law? Pass that law, and those companies will abide by it. But you can't just say, like, oh, we want teens to stop using it, so now you're going to have to submit a plan to me to get teens to stop using it. What the fuck is that? That makes no sense at all. If you want teens to stop using it, you have to pass a law to say teens need to stop using it. You can't tell e-cigarette companies to, out of the kindness of their hearts, submit a plan to get teens to stop using it when it's not their responsibility. Again, if you want to make an age line, then go right ahead. But you haven't done that. You're just saying submit a plan to get them to stop using it. Who does that? That's like saying to McDonald's, submit a plan to get teens to stop eating McDonald's. What the fuck is that about? No, if you want to get that to happen, you have to pass a law to make it happen. You can't. It smells like bullshit from a million miles away. I don't know what they're doing here or why they're doing it, but all I know is, isn't it weird how these products come along every now and then that really help people? Like e-cigarettes, like kratom. And then weird, it always happens to be those products that, there's a crackdown on those products. And I think a lot of it might have to do with the fact, let's keep it real here, that maybe the kratom companies and maybe the e-cigarette companies, maybe they're not paying their bribes as well to the government as the pharmaceutical companies are and as the tobacco companies are. So money rules everything, and I see corruption everywhere. So when I look at this stuff, I just see a lot of fuckery and not a lot of good decision making.